Hi, Hub Arkish here for Pro Football Weekly with this week's edition of the Fantasy Ticker. And to get you all the best fantasy information, I welcome in senior editor and our fantasy expert here at Pro Football Weekly, Mike Wilkening. And let's start at the quarterback position, Mike. You know, you've got at least three top quarterbacks in Roethlisberger, Cutler, and Smith. Alex Smith not likely to go. Anybody out there you can claim who might help your ball club if you've got one of those guys?
You know, I think COLIN Kaepernick of the 49ers is the quarterback to probably prioritize in terms of guys most available on waiver wires. Now, Nick Foles could also be out there. We've mentioned him before, but Kaepernick to me is very interesting. Now, I don't know if you necessarily start him this week against a Chicago defense, if indeed he does start, but he's a guy that I think he's a pickup and stash sort of candidate for late in the season. He's just a wonderful rusher. He's got 177 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in limited action this season. Maybe he gets a late season start or two if they clinch the division. He could be a very valuable guy down the stretch. So I think, again, you pick him up, you see what happens. He could pay off down the stretch for you.
All right, Mike, I've got a running back problem this week. Adrian Peterson has me in first place right now, but he's on a bye. Anybody I can find who might help me there?
Yes, your team just beat mine in the PFW League this week, so thank you for that. Mark Ingram would be a great guy to pick up, Hub. I think he's someone 16 carries last week, getting a bigger role in the offense as a good matchup versus Oakland. You know, again, this is a tough situation because you've got a team that likes to pass the ball more than run, but there's been a little bit more of an emphasis on the running game in New Orleans of late, and I think Ingram would be the guy to pick up on waivers.
There is a wide receiver in San Diego who's suddenly gotten very hot, hasn't he?
Yeah, Danario Alexander is someone really that I think needs to be picked up. He played almost all of the snaps last week, 89%, 134 yards, a touchdown, targeted 7 times. Look, the San Diego offense can be a little bit hit or miss. I think it's a pretty good matchup versus Denver, though, because they might be behind, they might be throwing, and Alexander is somebody that the volume of opportunities makes him somebody you should look at.
How about a tight end? Anybody out there who can help fantasy players?
Scott Chandler continues to be available in more leagues than you might expect, and he's a guy that has 5 touchdown catches, and the receiving yards to me are also important. You're talking about a guy a combined 116 yards the last 2 weeks. It's not a guy that's just vulturing touchdowns in the red zone. He's getting some other opportunities too. I think he's someone you can pick up, and he can be an every week starter in my view.
All right, and how about defense? Is there a defense that maybe you haven't been playing or haven't been starting all that much to this point in the season who has a good matchup this week?
The St. Louis Rams jump off the page because they play the Jets. That's all we really need to say. They have struggled with turnovers. This is a team that's good at home. They're willing to run some trick plays in the kicking game too, so if you get points there, they're a little intriguing. They're available in the bulk of leagues. I think the St. Louis Rams are a prime plug-and-play option this year.
That is the fantasy ticker for Week 11 of the 2012 NFL season. For all the best in fantasy information, as well as all the best news, notes, and analysis from around the NFL, make sure you stay dialed up 24/7 at ProFootballWeekly.com.